Welcome to Well-Traveled Life with Jonathan and Jennifer. Today we are in Kuranda, just outside of Cairns. We'll give you a little bit of information on how to get there and what to do while you're there. In this first video, we'll get from Cairns to Kuranda in the Skyrail. And we'll do another video on how to get back using the Scenic Railway. Kuranda is located inside the Barron Gorge National Park, and it's going to take a bit to get there. So if you are coming into either the port of Cairns or the airport in Cairns, then you're going to need to find a route to get up into the village. For those with cars, it's easy enough to just drive on your own, and there's a bus option. But I'm going to suggest that there are a couple of alternatives that are a little more scenic and a little more interesting. So you have the Skyrail as well as the Scenic train. And just to say you've done it, I would probably suggest taking one up and one down. I don't think it really matters if you take the train or the Skyrail up or down, which order doesn't matter. But I would suggest trying to take both. I think if I were to do the trip again, I might not take both ways, but we'll talk about that as we go. Let's begin by talking about the Skyrail. The Skyrail station is actually not near either the airport or the cruise port, so you're going to need to get transportation. You can take an Uber or a taxi. Regardless of which ticket you get, you're going to have 3 stops. The first stop is going to get you to the Red Peak station. The second will take you to Barron Falls, and then the final destination is the Kuranda Terminal. At Smithfield Terminal, you're going to have a couple of choices about your tickets. You can get a one-way for about $60. You can get a round trip for about $88.50, and if you want the round trip with bus transfer into Cairns, that will cost you about 113 Australian dollars. The gondolas are built for 6 people, 3 on each side, so you're either facing forward or facing backwards. I found that even on a relatively busy day, they still only put 3 or 4 of us in a gondola at a time. They run continuously, so even if there's a line, you'll get through it quickly. Bring earbuds and use the time in line to download the app. There's amazingly great information on there. If you're coming from out of the country and you don't have cell service, you'll need to download the app, get a text, and be able to log in before you go. So that might be some pre-planning that you'd want to do. Once you get out of town and out of the residential area, you will start to climb up over the mountain and above the rainforest canopy. Your first stop is at Red Peak, and you aren't required to get off the gondola, but I would completely suggest that you exit, take off, and plan to spend 15 to 30 minutes here. There's a boardwalk with a lookout over the rainforest. There's an interpretive set of stations that will teach you a little bit about the plants that you're seeing in the rainforest, and you can even get a ranger guided tour. So I say stop, spend the time. This is why you take the Skyrail. As you walk through the Rainforest Discovery Zone, keep an eye out for signage. It will teach you all that you need to know about what you're about to see. At the first stop, you're going to get off and there's a boardwalk at Red Peak Station. It's not very long, it's not very hard, it's real simple, and there's little markers along the way to show you what you're looking for. It's a wonderful way to get up close to the rainforest and feel like you're really in the rainforest. So go ahead and get off the gondola at the first stop and enjoy Red Peak. Okay, so get a hold of this lawyer's cane. It's also called wait a while. It has these really, really thorny stalks or stems and these prickly leaves. And what they're doing is they're actually holding onto, grabbing other plants that it can grow on to get up to the sun. And then it's delivering the nutrients it needs that it's getting from the sun back down to the parent plant, which is down at the bottom on the very dark floor of the forest. Don't run into this one. Okay, so right behind me is an Oscar. And an Oscar is a little tiny sapling that will lay on the bottom of the forest floor, and it waits for a break in the canopy to get some sunlight. And as soon as that sunlight hits those great big leaves, it will all of a sudden take a huge, monstrous, big grow. And so it will kind of compete for that race to the sunlight, and it's just waiting for a hole in the sky. So known as the kauri tree, this tree itself right here It's over 400 years old, and it has this great adaptive feature. It will be a fast grower, it's an emergent species, and it will get up to the sky and then it like fans out like an umbrella, kind of keeping anything below it from growing. But it also has this amazingly smooth, self-shedding bark that prevents vines and other plants from growing on it, so it keeps to itself. Epiphytes are a different kind of a climber. So these are these ferns that will grow on trees, but they aren't actually going to kill the tree that they're growing on. They're using the tree as a home base to get higher, closer to the sun. But they actually catch leaf rot, and they sort of act as a leaf filter, and they create their own ecosystem up there. The problem is you kind of got to worry when the rainy season comes and they get really heavy because they're full of all of this sort of leaf debris, etc. They can actually break the branch that they're living in, which is detrimental to both it and the fern. They also make great homes for pythons. This is your chance to see the rainforest from all angles. Look up, look down, look straight ahead. There is some plant variety, some animal ecosystem everywhere you look. And then it's back on the gondola up to the next stop. One of the best parts of the Skyrail is this next stop. You're going to get to Barron Falls. And before you actually get to the falls, depending on how wet it has been, you may see what looks like steam or smoke coming out of the mountains. As we were heading up, we saw what really looked like a forest fire, but turned out to be all of the mist off of the waterfalls because they were really flowing. Remember that when it is the rainy season and you have a lot of rain coming down, you're going to get a ton of runoff, and that's likely going to be brown water because it's washing so much silt and topsoil down with it. During this segment of the gondola ride, you're getting some really great views of waterfalls that may be across the gorge, as well as the Barron River down inside the gorge. As the gondola comes to a stop in this area, the Barron Falls, you definitely want to get off here. There's a really great lookout, and there's an area you can walk around and see both the river and the falls from a few different angles. On this part of the ride, I had a couple of really great passengers in the gondola with me, and they'd like to say a little bit about where we are right now.
Here we are at the Barron River Gorge at the Barron Falls. We're at the Barron River Gorge at the Barron River Falls in Canada. Yeah, right outside Cairns in Queensland, Australia.
Thanks, ladies. I hope you guys had a really great trip back to Melbourne. Rainforests are all about water. It gets about 8 meters of water annually. In this spot where I'm standing, it's about 2.2 meters rain per year. Most of that water is going to filter through the canopy of the rainforest. The trees will take what they need, and then it will get down into the soil. Soil will get what it needs. It goes down into the groundwater table, and then during the dry season, it will come back up again to resurface the trees and plants during that drier season. Raining season here is from December to March, and it is January right now, and they have had a tremendous amount of rain. So when you see those big rainfalls, you'll notice that the rivers and the waterfalls are all a little dirtier looking. And so this is what 2.2 meters of water in a season looks like as runoff. The last leg of the Skyrail took about 10 minutes, and it took you up over the Barron River and into your final destination of Kuranda. Now go watch that next video in this series. We'll share highlights of the village of Kuranda, and we'll do the scenic railway to get back to Cairns. Please make sure you also watch our video about having a day in the city of Cairns itself.